When you get home from work at night, you affectionately pet your dog, who has been waiting patiently for you all day. But have you ever considered that, in this seemingly heartwarming moment, your dog is actually feeling a deep sense of loss? You might think that providing plenty of food and water and an expensive dog bed is all that matters, but your dog is silently longing for something you've never given them. Many dogs who love their owners with all their hearts have never been loved in the way they truly need. The more you ignore this, the thicker the invisible glass wall between you grows. Today, I'll unveil the hidden world of a dog's brain and share 5 psychological shifts that will completely shatter your assumptions. Stay with me, especially for point number 5. I guarantee that after hearing this, you'll immediately walk over to your dog and look into its eyes in a whole new way. Welcome to Pupmond. If you see your dog as a soulmate, please like and subscribe to join us on this deep dive. First, think about how you usually pet your dog. When it excitedly jumps on you, do you give its sides a firm pat? Or when it walks by, do you quickly scratch its back a few times? This feels like affection. In human body language, it's like a warm hug. But for your dog, this fragmented, intermittent touch is like constantly plucking a guitar string that's already stretched tight. It doesn't bring calm, instead it fuels agitation. Most of the time, your dog isn't enjoying your petting. It's merely enduring this physical contact. Beneath a dog's skin lies an extremely complex network of fascia and nerves. When you pat them quickly and lightly, you're actually activating their sympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for the fight or flight response. You think you're soothing them, but in reality, you're pouring them 2 cups of espresso. Thermal imaging research conducted by the Royal Veterinary College in London found that when humans use quick, irregular patting motions, the muscle groups in a dog's shoulders, neck, and back display red heat zones indicative of stress and tension. However, when humans change their technique, using the full surface of their palm to glide slowly, deeply, and continuously along the dog's flank meridian, starting from behind the shoulder blades, along the outer ribs, all the way to the outer thigh, with each stroke lasting a full 4 seconds, a miracle occurred. The red areas on the thermal imager, which signaled tension, rapidly cooled to blue indicating relaxation in less than 2 minutes. The dog's breathing rate dropped by 30%. This sustained, slightly weighted glide mimics the deep, compressive sensation a mother dog provides when her puppies are most vulnerable, directly activating the parasympathetic nervous system. Tonight, I want you to try something different. Don't pat, and don't scratch quickly. Have your dog lie on its side. Place your entire palm flat against the area behind its shoulder blades. Apply a little pressure, and then slide extremely slowly toward its hind legs. Watch its chin. You'll see its lips relax slightly and hear it let out a deep sigh. In that moment, you're no longer just petting a dog, you're reshaping its nervous system. Second point, what was your main purpose the last time you took your dog for a walk? I'm guessing it was to get it to relieve itself, burn off energy, and hit your step goal. You have a route map and a schedule in your head. If you approach dog walking with this mindset, you're committing one of the most destructive mistakes in modern dog ownership. You're treating the walk like a treadmill workout. But in a dog's world, a walk isn't exercise at all. It's an incredibly complex process of neuronal decoding. A worn-out branch soaked in rainwater is trash in your eyes. But to a dog's sensory system, equipped with hundreds of millions of olfactory receptors, that branch is a vast database of information. It can detect the cortisol levels of a coyote that passed by 12 hours ago. It can sense that the neighbor's golden retriever has just recovered from an illness. They aren't wasting time. They're constructing their worldview. Experiments at Duke University's Center for Canine Cognition found that when dogs are allowed to sniff freely and deeply in a patch of weeds for more than 90 seconds, their dopamine circulation is strongly activated, and heart rate variability, a key indicator of health, surges by 40%. In stark contrast, dogs that ran vigorously for 3 miles on a treadmill showed almost no improvement in heart rate variability. A physically exhausted dog may still be a mentally anxious dog, filled with frustration. Only a mentally satisfied dog is truly calm. Starting tomorrow, transform your twice-weekly walks into full-fledged sniffing expeditions. Switch to the longest leash you have and leave your phone at home. Don't plan a route. If your dog stands in front of a rock for 5 minutes, breathing deeply without moving, stand there with them for 5 minutes. When you get home, they'll walk to a corner, flop down heavily, and fall into a deep sleep. That's not because of muscle soreness, but because their soul has been thoroughly nourished on this morning. Third, have you ever had this experience? You're clearly praising your dog with words, but it seems not to hear you, or even turns away to give you a cold shoulder. It's not being stubborn. It's a more sophisticated, emotional lie detector than you are. We humans rely too heavily on language, but a dog's brain doesn't operate like a dictionary. They don't listen to your lines, they sense your emotional sonar, your heartbeat at the moment you speak, the resonance in your chest, and the slightest twitch of your facial muscles. When you're anxious inside but force out gentle words, the vibration frequency of your vocal cords and the microscopic scent of pressure you emit will completely give you away. Research from the University of Milan in Italy found that when an owner is under high stress, but tries to praise their dog with a pretend enthusiastic tone, the dog's cortisol levels actually spike momentarily. This is because it creates extreme cognitive dissonance in the dog's nervous system. Their ears hear positive words, but their senses detect the owner's agitation. What's the solution? Stop the cheap talk. What your dog needs is consistency of intent. If you're tired today and in a bad mood, just stay silent. But when you wake up one morning, watching the sunlight fall on its sleeping face, and a wave of genuine love wells up inside you, in that moment, look into its eyes and convey the authentic emotion resonating in your chest. That whisper, imbued with 100% pure intent, will strike its brain's reward center like an electric current. Fourth, take a look at that fancy dog bowl in your home. I'm going to tell you something that might offend you. That bowl is slowly stripping your dog of the greatest dignity in its life. What effort does your dog have to make every day just to survive? Zero. You give it everything, but from an evolutionary biology perspective, you're actually subjecting it to a prolonged indoor unemployment crisis. Every dog's ancestors were domesticated because they were working partners. They are genetically programmed to search, solve puzzles, and expend mental energy to acquire resources. When you place food directly in a bowl, it's like walking into a master carpenter's workshop, confiscating all his tools, then handing him a wad of cash every day and telling him to sit on the couch and stare at the wall. His spirit is withering away. Dogs don't need a free lunch, they crave the chance to earn their food. Many dogs diagnosed with destructive behavior or separation anxiety don't actually have any psychological disorders. They're simply on the verge of a breakdown due to extreme boredom and pent-up instincts. All you need to do is change how you allocate resources. Divide tonight's meal into 3 portions. For the first, wrap it tightly in a large towel, so the dog must tear and dismantle it to eat. For the second, take an empty cardboard box, stuff it with crumpled newspaper, and scatter the kibble inside. For the third, lay a faint scent trail in the yard or a corner of the living room. Then tell him, go find it. When you see him with his nose pressed to the ground, panting heavily, and working up a sweat to extract that last grain of kibble, what you're witnessing is a wolf awakening. When he finally completes the task and rests his chin on your lap, exhausted yet satisfied, you're no longer just the waiter who opens the dog food bag. You've become his great mentor. Point 5. If the previous 4 points were about how you actively change your behavior, then this final point is about how you learn to disappear. When you're ready on a lazy afternoon, get off the couch. Walk to the rug in the center of the living room and lie down completely flat. Back on the floor, face up, hands at your sides. Don't hold a toy, don't hold a treat, and most importantly, don't call its name or even look at it. You simply need to become a non-threatening object in the room. Throughout your dog's life, it has lived under a form of spatial dominance that you've never even realized. No matter how gentle you are on a physical level, you are a massive creature that always looks down on it from above. In a dog's primal subconscious, being above and initiating contact always carries a sense of oppression. They love you, so they accept this oppression, but they almost never have the chance to be with you in a space of complete equality. When you lie flat on the floor, withdraw all commands, and cut off all active attention, the energy field in the room undergoes a dramatic shift. At first, your dog might be confused. 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes pass. You remain motionless. Then it will understand, at this very moment, you have no demands. You aren't trying to control it, you simply exist. You'll hear the sound of its paws approaching, extremely slowly. You'll feel it circle halfway around you, and then a warm, heavy sensation on the side of your thigh. It sighs, presses its back tightly against your body, and lies down. In this situation, completely devoid of food, praise, or petting, it chooses to cross the entire room simply to rest its body against yours. In animal behavior, this is called unconditional attachment. It isn't here to please you, it's here to keep you company. In that very moment, the relationship between you is no longer one of master and pet. You are two small boats, sharing the same quiet starry sky in the universe. This wordless, equal silence binds your souls together more tightly than 10,000 strokes ever could. So, this is the whole picture. A deep touch that penetrates the skin and soothes the nerves. A soul-searching journey where it explores the world with its nose. A genuine tone that perfectly matches its subtle facial expressions. A mental challenge that fills it with pride. And, in this noisy world, your willingness to lie down beside it, offering the companionship of silence on completely equal terms. Not a single one of these 5 things costs you a penny, but they require something extremely rare: your empathy, your awakening. We always say that dogs are a part of our lives, while we are their whole world. Since we are their whole world, we cannot love them merely with human arrogance. We must bend down, step into their world filled with sense, subtle movements, and primal instincts, and tell them in a language they understand, "I see you." They don't live long, just a little over a decade, like a breeze you can't catch. But if you're willing to make these changes starting today, when that day finally comes, when they close their eyes, what they'll take with them won't be a life filled with confusion and endurance. What they'll take with them is the most perfect, unreserved trust in this world. For your dog's sake, make the change. Become the person who truly understands them in their eyes.